Yes. Alrighty. What's up, everybody? My peeps. What's going on, you sexy bitches? It is I, your tribal god of extreme, Peter Joseph here. Excuse me, for a Friday afternoon video. Right here on your Good Friday, right here on the main channel, Killer of Demons 669. And as always, thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video. Hit the subscribe button down there inside of my goddamn pants. It's there. You might have to dig there, but, you know, ladies, no guys, we don't like go that way. But I digress. But hit that subscribe button downstairs in my pants, otherwise known as the description box below, on this channel and my other channels as well. Show your love and support. Leave a comment on the video, but don't leave stupid comments because you're gonna get blocked. And if you don't like that, fuck you, man. And that's that. Be respectful of my channels and my rules. If not, get out of here, go to your dead channel that nobody cares about, and do your shit there. That's that, because you ain't gonna do it here. Or anywhere, for that matter. That's that. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Share the video all over the internet. And don't forget to tap and slap that bell, turn on all notifications so you don't miss the next one, because you miss anything, you're pretty much SOL, and you better know what that means. Ha! And if you don't know what it means, look it up, asshole. And that's that. You like it? Great. You don't? Go fuck yourself. And if you're brand new here for the very first time, well, welcome to the party, pal! We hope you enjoy the ride. Sit back, relax, put your feet up, and then grab a cold one. As always, we drink Pepsi here, the drink of champions. So sit back, relax, you grab that cold one, whatever you got. Put your feet up and enjoy the show. And like I said, if you like it, great, you know. Bye-bye, so long, farewell to you. You can go fuck yourself. And that's all I gotta say about that. And we move on. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is Good Friday, the day where our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ the Lord, said he was persecuted and nailed to the cross and died for our sins. And a couple of days later, he rose from the dead on like great Easter Day, which is Sunday. So, today we mourn the death of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but on Sunday we celebrate his glorious resurrection on that great Easter Day. And we have fun watching baseball and WrestleMania. And we got that, and next year we'll be doing it again. April 10th and 11th, I believe. But that's going to be in New Orleans, Louisiana. Next year for WrestleMania 42, 43, tentatively it's going to be in Indianapolis. So, but we'll see about where we get to 43. We got 41 tomorrow night. Tomorrow night in Vegas, and we're going to be on SmackDown tonight in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena, where NXT's Stand and Deliver will be tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. And we also got the Hall of Fame tonight at 1 a.m. on YouTube. So lots of stuff happening in Vegas pretty much the last couple days. WWE World is popping off. Last night was Unbreakable. I thought it was tonight, but last night was Unbreakable. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Little quickie results. Not going to get through all of it, but we'll see what happens with that. Also, we had GCW's Bloodsport. Natalya and Miyu Yamashita. Woo! That was a beatdown for epic proportions. Natalya won. Bastard! Fuck! Sorry. Yeah, so Natalya, did some pretty good shit. And then she got into a fight in the crowd with Kenzie Page of the NWA. Because I think Natalya's going to be part of the Crockett Cup. So Natalya's doing some things, and now she's actually, See, this is the Natalya we should see on TV, not some bumbling bitch, you know? Where we barely see on TV. Oh, she's basically in catering, you know, doing nothing. I want to see that Natalya I saw last night at Bloodsport. That's what I want to see. Hair all braided up, beating the crap out of Miyu, even though Miyu, Miyu basically beat the shit out of Natalya for most of the match, but Natalya came back and won with a sharpshooter. We had Pete fucking Dunne and Timothy Thatcher. That was a beatdown. Pete Dunne won after basically breaking Timothy Thatcher's elbow and snapping off pretty much all his fingers. Shit. We had that. Carmen Petrovic was in the ring, and I think she lost her match. I forget against who, but we had that. Shayna Baszler was there. But a good event last night. Excuse me, my throat's killing me today. I got a lozenge in my mouth, so that's why I'm like. We had all that. So. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. And but last night was a great event for Bloodsport. Unbreakable wasn't that bad. But tonight, we got SmackDown, we got the Hall of Fame. I don't think anything else tonight. I know Prestige Wrestling had an event last night. Defy Wrestling had an event last night. I think GCW is having an event tonight or tomorrow. Or something, I don't know, but without anything else besides Bloodsport, and I think we had Joey Janela's spring break is in during that week as well. Big Effie's whatever gay brunch, whatever the fuck that is. But lots of stuff this week. I know a lot of people will be doing the WWE stuff, you know, but that's that. Issa and everybody that's there is having a blast. They'll be at SmackDown tonight. I know that. I don't know about the Hall of Fame, but everybody will be at Mania tomorrow, and maybe NXT on tomorrow as well, and Sunday for night 2, and then most likely for Raw on Monday, and then they'll be flying back on Tuesday, and we'll probably see some of them on stream probably Wednesday or by next Friday. So we'll see what happens with that, but hope everybody in Vegas is having fun. I wish I was there with you guys, but, maybe someday. Someday I'll be with you guys at one of the big four. Maybe SummerSlam, maybe, but I doubt that, but, of course, tickets are very expensive. And the whole weekend, it's just very expensive. Too much for my blood. I'd rather go to GCW July 19th. That's just me. Because it's in my neck of the woods. So, that's that. And even Slammiversary is in, well, not my neck of the woods, but it's in Long Island at the end of July, but I'll be on vacation, so I'm not going to that either. And plus, I don't go to Long Island unless I get driven there. I don't go by Long Island Railroad because it's a bitch to get home from there at night. I know that from experience, too. You take the train after 12, you're fucked. So get there, leave before 12, 10, 11 o'clock. Well, you can probably get there around 11. You get a train, you get an LIRR train back to Brooklyn or back to Manhattan, and then you're fine. But, so, we'll see what happens with that. Maybe I'll go to Arthur Ashe Hall Stadium for Grand Slam. But, it's all about the money. And then I got other things to worry about with concerts coming up this summer, vacation, and other things. So, might not be going to a lot of wrestling events this year. I do have one coming up at the in the middle of May, but we'll see what happens with that when we get to that point. So, probably about another month from now, I'll be going to another event, and some concerts coming up as well, like I said. So, but stay tuned to my channels, hit that bell, so when I do those videos, maybe you'll see them. And that's all I gotta say about that. Alright, lots of videos coming today, so let me get them out of the way before we get to SmackDown. So, video number 1, right here on the Kill with Demons channel. By the way, my name is Peter Joseph, but you knew that already. I am a content creator talking about the wonderful world of professional wrestling, or anything else I want to talk about. If you like it, great. You don't, fuck off! And that's pretty much it. Alright, let's get to video number 1 right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your late and kinda out of date TNA Impact Wrestling and Unbreakable and Ring of Honor reviews. Alright, so let's get to TNA and Ring of Honor from last night, April the 17th, 2025. You're watching this on the 18th of April. Not too. That too. Too much beer. Gotta get ready for Mania, you know what I mean? Gonna have fun. Fun. Until we don't have fun no more. Alright, so let's get to your TNA Impact Wrestling review, and we'll talk about Unbreakable as well, and Ring of Honor from last night. So let's get to it. Let's start off with TNA, as always, the better show. Alright, so you start with Impact, which will go into Unbreakable, some of the results, and I'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so Impact emanated one more time from the St. Joseph Civic Arena in St. Joseph, Missouri. So we're done with the Missouri tapings. I think we're going to be in Vegas for the next set of tapings. Maybe at Sam's Town, who knows. But we'll see what happens with that next week. But this week, as always, our commentary team of Tom Phillips and Aiden English, otherwise known as Matthew Waywalt. And we got that. Alright, so we start off with the opening sequence, opening recap from last week, which is a pretty good show. As we're getting closer to Unbreakable. We had the finalists for the TNA Impact Intercontinental title. We saw Flop Dollar get there. So we got that, and a whole lot more. We're also, we're also getting ready for the end of this month with Rebellion on April the 27th. That's next Sunday. So, next Thursday will be the go-home show before Rebellion. So, we got 2 shows. Well, a show, and now we got a pay-per-view coming up. And then we got, in May, I think we have Under Siege. I don't know what we have in May, but we'll get to that. Alright, match number 1. We have Laredo, not the Laredo Kid. He cut the kid out. So, Laredo, former TNA Digital Media Champion, well, that title is gone. That title go bye-bye now. They brought in the Intercontinental title to replace that. But anyway, he takes on Jason Hotch, who is part of the cabinet, one half of I believe the Northern Armory, I believe. Or I think the Good Hands, I forget which tag team. But anyway, so he's there with the lovely Puerto Rican princess herself, Tasha Steelz. So, it was a decent match, 6-minute match. Starts up with a wrist drag. Not arm drag, wrist drag. Takes Jason Hotch down, but Tasha Steelz offers a distraction, shaking her tatas onto her ass. And she has a nice ace, and I know from experience. No, I don't. Anyway. Alright, so that distraction allowed Hotch to get in the shot from the floor. get back in the ring. Hawk strikes away at Laredo, gets set in the corner, and a neck breaker and a missile drop kick take him down on the floor. And then, as always, because he's a luchador, like this guy, Osito. Anyway, moving on. Alright, so Laredo hits a flippy DVD because he's a luchador. Alright, then he nails a twisting senton splash. But gets caught with a Mustafa Ali-like rolling neck breaker for a near fall. I guess Mustafa Ali taught Jason Hotch that move. There you go. They go up top where Laredo hits a super power slam. Nice. For a near fall. But he walks into a swinging back breaker. And then Jason Hotch goes up again for another top rope move, but he gets caught. And Laredo hits a super Spanish fly a la my mentor, Joel Maximo. 1, 2, 3, Laredo gets the win. That's all I gotta say about that. 2.5 out of 5 stars. And we're off and running on TNA Impact Wrestling. You gotta love that Impact Wrestling. And that's that. Alright, then we find out that Leon Slater is going to be taking on Brian Myers later on, but he still wants to become the youngest X Division champion. Now that's going to be contested under Ultimate X rules, so Moose will be fighting some people, so we got that. And speaking of the Ultimate X qualifying matches, we have Cody Deaner trying to get Santino, you son of a gun, to extend his contract so he can get an Ultimate X qualifying match. I didn't even know Cody Deaner's contract was up. Not that I give two fucks. But we move on with that. Alright, both those segments, 2.25 out of 5 stars. Alright, back to the ring we go with the knockouts, the ladies. And we have some hot ladies in that very ring. We have Xia Brookside, who's going to be turning to the dark side pretty soon, thanks to my girl, Rosemary, the co-founder of The Prophecy. And she comes out with Xia Li, or Lei Ying Li, Xia Li, same thing. She takes on my girl, Jasmine Nix, of Fatal Influence, with JC Jane! Oh yeah! And former woman, that's Fallon, don't call her, to the Dawn Henley. Alright. So that ringside, pretty decent match. Starts off with Jasmine taking Xia down with the head scissors, but gets rolled up for some very near falls, and then a running drop kick hits Jasmine right in the mouth. Ow. But she kicks Xia in the titties for a near fall. Don't hurt the titties. Gotta save the titties. Anyway, moving on. Xia gets bulldogged in the corner, ow, for a 1 count. And then we get a basic 1905 chin lock by Jasmine to get back up. They trade kicks to the head. Better the head, not the boobies. And they knock each other down. And then they slug it out. And Jasmine wins the exchange, hits a leg lariat for a near fall. But Xia Brookside comes right back with a middle rope cross body block for a near fall. And then JC Jane, Fallon, and Xia Li get into it. And then my girl Rosemary, she comes out from the shadows and spits the green mist right in JC Jane's face. And then Xia's like, hey, what's going on here? But somehow, through all that distraction by my girl Rosemary, she manages to pin Jasmine with a small package and a handful of panties. 1, 2, 3, Xia Brookside gets the win, thanks to my girl Rosemary. We will teach you well, young child. Come on, Xia. Turn to the dark side, because the dark side is always the good side. Join the prophecy, Zaya. Come on, you know you want to do it. You know you want to. Hey, if Su Yung, who got really big, by the way, can be in the prophecy, so can you. And Abaddon, we know Abaddon's in. Right there. And Father James Mitchell was in the prophecy, too. So we have that, Nick fucking Gage. I mean, so many people. This is great. Because the prophecy is the greatest force in all of the land. Not Milwaukee, which means the good land. But the land. The planet Earth. We got that. Alright, so decent match. 2.25 out of 5 stars. And that's it. So Zaya Brookside, thanks to Rosemary, gets the win. And we'll see what happens with that. Maybe a 6-man tag team match coming out of that. With Rosemary, Zaya Lee, and Zaya Brookside. That'd be an evil tag team. Think about it. You have the dark, mysterious Rosemary. You have Zaya Lee, who could go back to her Tianxia days. I would love to see that. And then you have Zaya Brookside, like an evil Zaya Brookside. So, you never know. Against Fatal Influence. And we get all that. We move on. Alright. Then we go to our next match, an Ultimate X qualifying match. We have Casey Navarro with Flop Dollar at ringside, part of First Class. He takes on Cody Deaner, who somehow got the match. And wasn't a great match for him, as Casey Navarro gets the win, and he qualifies for Ultimate X. And you know him, if you've seen Grimm's Toy Show, he's been on that. He's been on the indie circuit in CCW. He's a big-time high flyer. Former champion, I believe, too. But anyway, we got that. He wins the match with a, he did some chicanery because Cody Deaner was doing everything he could to get the win. He grabs a 1924 airplane spin into a TKO for a very near fall. And really with nothing else working, Casey Navarro whips out a chain, knocks Cody Deaner out cold, and that's pretty much it. So he gets the win to advance to the Ultimate X match, where he will face off against Moose and pretty much a lot of other people, and that's that. Alright, so 2.5 out of 5 stars for that. So we get that. Alright, after the match, Casey Navarro is very fired up about his win. He's ready to become the X Division champion. Well, he has to beat Moose to get there. Well, doesn't have to beat Moose, he has to grab the X Division title, which is on top of the Ultimate X, and that's that. Alright, then we get a special look at newcomer Maggie Lee, who debuted last week. And she's getting looked at by Ash and Heather, by Elegance, the tag team champions. And we see her beat Savannah Evans on Explosion. You know, there was some help from George the Iceman, the personal concierge. But she's going to be in action, teaming with Heather Reckless, otherwise known as Heather by Elegance, as they take on Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley from NXT. So we'll get to that match in just a bit. Alright, so Maggie Lee thinks there is a lot going on at the moment, but she isn't changing for anyone. And then Georgie Iceman is here with Maggie, who is an official project of the Elegance group. And she's going to have a special partner. So that partner is, like I said, Heather by Elegance. Alright, so they take on Gigi and Tatum. Wasn't a great match, but still, under 5-minute match. Starts with Gigi Dolan and Maggie Lee. Maggie fights out of trouble, but Heather doesn't even want to tag her in. So more double teaming has Maggie in trouble, and then George the Iceman has to offer distraction, which allowed the an assisted hot shot, made famous by Stone Cold Steve Austin, mind you that. Stunning Steve Austin, not Stone Cold, stunning. Back in WCW. So he drops Gigi for a near fall, and then a few running shots in the corner, get a near fall. Heather chokes away for another near fall. Gigi fights her way back, brings Tatum Paxley in to clean house, and then all four women are in the ring. And then eventually, Gigi and Tatum hit a very sloppy-looking cemetery driver on Heather by Elegance. They get the win. Match stunk, so I gave it 2.25 out of 5 stars. And then after the match, Heather by Elegance is panicking. He's like, help me! And then Metaphor, the girls from Metaphor, Last Legend, get shit done. And Jakar Miss Jackson if you're nasty. And Spitfire, former TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Jody Threat, and my girl Dani Luna, gonna be in the New York area in July, by the way, and then Gigi and Tatum help her out. So they all want a TNA Knockouts title shot. That Heather and Ash have the belts. So Heather snaps and says, "Yes! All four of you have a title shot!" Alright, so it looks like we got a fatal 4-way title shot. I think that's coming up on Rebellion. Or next week, I don't know when. It doesn't specify, but we got that. So, see what happens with that. I hope Spitfire gets it back. I'm not really fond of the Elegance team. I want Lash and Jakar to get it, but are they? Nope. Because they gotta worry about, they have to worry about tomorrow afternoon when they're in another fatal 4-way match, but that's for the WWE Women's Tag Team belts that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez have, and who knows if they're gonna, retain, or it's gonna go to Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, which most likely it will go to Bayley and Lyra, so. Lots of things happening in the world of women's tag team wrestling. And that's that. Alright, moving on. Alright, then we get a special look at the Unbreakable Triple Threat from 2005. That was epic. So we see the last few minutes of the match, and I think that was with Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe. Probably one of the best matches in 2005 in TNA. When TNA was actually good. Well, not that it's great now, but, you know. Alright, we get that. Alright, then we hear from Flop Dollar. AJ Francis is all ready to win the Intercontinental title. Well, we'll see who he faces as we get there. Alright, then we see, say his name, and he appears. Sing it with me now. I believe in Joe Hendry. Alright, the champ. We hear from him and the Knockouts Women's Champion, Marsha. Slamovich, they're all ready for Unbreakable. We'll talk about Unbreakable a little bit. But we move on. Alright, then we get to our next match. Dani Luna, my girl, Dani Luna, taking on Jakar Miss Jackson if you're nasty, with Jody Threat and Last Legend still at ringside after that whole thing that happened in our last match. So, match, they fight over a basic lockup. Dani Luna powers out of a basic headlock, shoulders Jakar down. Last Legend, and gets in a cheap shot, and then the referee saw that, and he tells Lash to, "You are out!" He ejects her, bastard. Back in, Jakar's chin lock doesn't last long as Dani Luna powers her down, setting up a clothesline as she makes the comeback. A Blue Thunder Bomb. As always, if people hit the Blue Thunder Bomb, you do not get the win unless you're Sami Zayn. So as always, a near fall out of that. Jakar hits a tornado DDT for a near fall, but then Dani Luna grabs a quick Luna landing. 1, 2, 3. My girl Dani Luna gets the win over Miss Jackson if you're nasty, and that's pretty much it. Match 2.25 out of 5 stars. And that's that. Alright, then it's time to sing along with Elijah. Who wants to walk with Elijah? Alright, so he sings about how he walked this way. Walk this way! Okay. Great Aerosmith song, you know, big ups to Aerosmith. Great band that, you know, well, they don't play anymore. Because Steven Tyler's throat is basically shot. Tom Hamilton is in another band with a good friend of mine. Named Chase from the Mickey Mouse Club, if you follow that. Used to be in the Party, now he's in a band with Tom Hamilton of Aerosmith. So, check him out. I don't know the name of the band, but he's in the band. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what Joe Perry's doing these days, and, Bradley Whitford, or who knows with him. And Joey the drummer. So Aerosmith's pretty much taking a hiatus right now. And who knows if they're ever going to come back. I think they retired for good. It sucks. I think I did a video saying they retired because of Steven Tyler's throat problems. And they, you know, they're in their 70s, getting close to 80, so it's time to hang it up, you know. Unless you're Kiss, but, you know. So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll move on. Alright, so he sings about how he walked this way in TNA and how he wants some barbecue after the show. Then he switches to talking, issues an open challenge for Rebellion. I wonder who will want to walk with Elias at Rebellion. And we'll look at that. Alright, then we get an Unbreakable rundown. And then we see, Ego, Ethan Page, who's going to be taking on Absolute Ricky Starks tomorrow at NXT Stand and Deliver for the men's North American title. Not going to win it, but we got that. But at Rebellion, he's all ready to win the TNA World title from Joe Hendry because he's all banged up, and he's better than Frankie Kazarian. So, we'll see what happens at Rebellion with the world title situation. And that's that. Alright, then we get to Leon Slater and Brian Myers. Which was the main event of the evening. And it was a decent match, nothing great. A little over 11.5 minutes. It's also with Leon Slater using his speed on the big man, but he gets knocked. He gets punched right in the face, knocking him into the corner. A bouncy kick to the face knocks Brian Myers to the floor. And then Leon Slater tries for a flippy dippity doo over the ring post, but a little bit too early for that. But instead, Brian Myers sends him into the post. Ow! As we go to break, come back. Brian Myers still in control, taking Leon Slater down again. Grabs a 1905 chin lock to slow down the pace. That gets broken up, and Leon hits a running boot to face, followed by the crossover, whoop, for a near fall. Then Brian Myers charges into another boot to face for a near fall, but he comes right back with an implant DDT, made famous by Edge, because he's an Edge head. Leon gets right back up, sends Brian Myers outside for a big running flippy dippity doo. And that's a little bit too much for Brian Myers, so he loads up the system ring. It has that little dynamite diamond ring, if you will. Which is taken away by the referee, and then, which allows Brian Myers to hit Leon Slater in his ballsack. Nuts! Then Brian Myers hits the roster cut. 1, 2, 3, Brian Myers gets the win. That's it. Once in a lifetime win for Brian Myers. Well, you know, it is what it is. And that's that. And that's that. Alright, then we get one more Unbreakable rundown, and then we wrap up the show, which wasn't a bad go-home show before Unbreakable. So I gave it 6.5 out of 10 stars. Now, alright, let's get you caught up to Unbreakable, the results real quick, and then we're gonna get into Ring of Honor, and then we get into Collision, And then hopefully before we get to SmackDown, we'll talk about NXT. And then, I already did my NXT Stand and Deliver predictions on my Shadows Lair channel, episode 66, so check that out. Link to the channel is down below in the gobbledygook. And we got that. Let me just take a sip of the soda, and we'll be right back. That's when I need my throat to hurt right before WrestleMania and Easter. By the way, happy Easter to everybody. If I don't say before then. Happy Good Friday to you. Hope you had a good Friday. Wasn't that warm here in the Northeast. It's cloudy right now. It's going to be windy as balls tonight into early tomorrow. But tomorrow, woo! 75 to 80 degrees. On your Easter Saturday and then Easter Sunday here in the Northeast, going to be 70 degrees. You gotta love it. So it's gonna go. So after a nice 75, 80 degree day, tomorrow it starts going down a bit, and then it's gonna be like a little bit up and down by the time we hit next weekend, which is the final weekend of April, and then we'll be going right into May. 2 weeks from today, and that's that. And, yeah, we pretty much move on with that. Alright, let's get to Unbreakable. And let's not waste any more time. If I can. Alright, so, Unbreakable emanated from the Cox Pavilion in Las Vegas, Nevada. As always, Tom Phillips and Matthew Waywell at ringside. So, alright, let me get to the results in just a second as, the old, computer likes to take a shit. So, alright, so we got that, and, alright, so give me one second before we get that. Alright, so, as soon as we get that going, we'll hopefully get that in a minute. But anyway, so, little news and notes before we get back into the review. Roman was on the Pat McAfee show. He praised Jay. You know, Jay so the Yeet Man. So, we'll see what happens with that. And, we'll see what happens tonight. All the stars are out tonight in Vegas. We got Roman's on the show, Punk, Cody, Cena will be on the show, Paul Heyman, Roman, like I said, Seth freaking Rollins, Tiffy Tiff, Charlotte. Pretty much everybody will be on SmackDown tonight. And, so we'll see what happens in 2 hours from now with SmackDown. And it should be a great show for NXT. If you haven't seen my predictions, check it out, like I said, on my Shadows Lair channel, episode number 66. And, so we got that. Alright, now we got our Unbreakable results up. Alright, let's start it off. Alright, so we started off with a TNA Intercontinental title tournament match. Now we know, like I said, Flop Dollar is already in the match. So we had Zachary Wentz, the OG Eric Young, and as always, he was still taking a dump. Alright, so we had Zachary Wentz of the Rascals, EY, Eric Young, and Fandango, otherwise known as JDC. It was a pretty good match. And the winner was Eric Young. He goes on to the tournament. Oh, he moves on in the tournament to join with Flop Dollar, and we get that. Excuse me. Alright, so it ends with, the fans were actually chanting for Tessa Blanchard for some odd reason. And alright, we had that, and, EY takes JDC down. He grabs Zachary Wentz, tosses him onto Fandango, and then he hits a pile driver! 1, 2, 3 to get the win. And that's it. So EY advances into the tournament, and that's that. Alright, now we get a rundown of the Unbreakable card. Then we go to our next tournament match, triple threat match. Ace Austin, good buddy with Chris Bay, who was at Unbreakable, walking great, still looks good. It's only a matter of time. You know, it's going to take him a long time to get back in that ring if he does get back in that ring. But he came out later in the show, did a little speech. Fans are going, you know, clapping, standing up, standing ovation. You know, little tear-jerking moments. So, but Chris Bay, get better, my friend. We love you. We support you. Get back in that ring pretty quick. And that's that. Alright, so Ace Austin takes on Eddie Edwards and Steve Macklin. And, was a pretty good match. Alicia Edwards, as always, with her husband Eddie. She calls it a distraction. But, and Eddie climbs up. Ace trips him, grabs Eddie, but Eddie with a super belly-to-back suplex. Nice. Macklin spears Eddie in the tree of whoa! And then Macklin frees Eddie, sets him up, and then Alicia Edwards again distracts the ref. And then she tries to slap Steve Macklin, but Macklin dodges another slap, and Alicia hits her husband Eddie. Uh-oh. And then Macklin with the KIA. 1, 2, 3. He moves on in the tournament. So we got Flop Dollar, EY, and the man he can't get out of his way. That's Steve Macklin. So we got that. All right. Then we had Gia Miller asking Frankie Kazarian and Triple X, how they're approaching tonight's match. I don't even think that's the Triple X I'm thinking of, but anyway. So Frankie says Gia asked the dumbest questions. Take that, Michael Cole. And says Joe Hendry is injured but fighting, and he says this is just the main course, or the appetite to the main course, and then Tessa Blanchard says Gia is dumb too, says she's pinned Masha twice, not for the title yet, but that's at Rebellion, we'll see, and she's overrated. So as Frankie works on Joe Hendry, she's going to finish what she started, and says Masha's built on hype, but while Masha's built on hype, she's built on results. Well, she's beat the champ twice, so see if she can do it again later on or at Rebellion. We'll see what happens with that. Alright, then Sean Merriman is at commentary. I think I know that name from somewhere. I think he's a football player. Anyway, so it's that commentary for the next match, which is Moose's open challenge to Las Vegas Best High Flyer. And who should come out of Vegas but Reggie! Yeah, Reggie Scripps. So Sidney Akeem, that's his real name, by the way. Sidney Akeem, who's been doing it up in the indie scene. He was in GCW. I think he's coming to New York soon. I don't know when, but so he's been doing a lot of good things in GCW, per se. Not the hardcore stuff, but the flippy-dippity-doo stuff. So, he takes Moose up on his offer for a An open challenge match. Alright, so we start off with a test of strength. And obviously, Moose wins that by cheating. But, Reggie did all he could. Alicia Edwards, once again, out at ringside because part of the system. She pulls the referee out after he hits a handspring Gilmore Kata! Bang! And he goes for the cover. Alicia pulls the ref out, and the ref goes, "Hey, you! Out!" Kicks her out. And then Reggie grabs Moose on the inside, but Moose hits Reggie in his balls, behind the referee's back, as he's still dealing with Alicia Edwards, trying to get her out of the ringside area. So, after Moose hits Reggie in his scripts, his balls, hits the spear, 1, 2, 3. We get that. So, Moose gets the win. That's that. Alright, EY is backstage. His arch nemesis, Steve Macklin, comes up to him and says, we knew we'd be here in this tournament. So EY asks if Steve is ready, and Steve says, "I have nothing but respect for you, EY." Right? Yeah, you've been fighting over the last few months. On and off friends, on and off teammates. I mean, what the hell? I mean, what's the end game here? She says, so Steve Mac's like, "I got respect for you, EY, but that title is on the line, and may the best man win." So we got a Flop Dollar versus EY versus Steve Macklin for the vacant Intercontinental title, but that's coming up later. But before we get to that, we have Mike Santana of LAX teaming with the Hardy Boys. We got Broken Matt Hardy, yes! Wonderful! And Jeff Hardy, dude! Yeah, the TNA Tag Team Champions. And they're going to be fighting in Ultimate X against these guys, Ryan and Dolph Ziggler, the Nemeth brothers, and they team up with Mustafa Ali. Alright, pretty good match. Get near the end, and Jeff hits a Swanton Bomb after a Twist of Fate to Ryan. Jeff goes up top, hits the Swanton on Ryan, who fucking sucks. And they get the win, so Mike Santana and the Hardy Boys get the win. That's it. Move on. Alright, then Fandango, JDC, and Eddie Edwards beat the shit out of Zachary Wentz backstage. See, well, where was Trey Miguel in all this? Don't know. That's that. Alright, then we see some interesting people in the audience. We had Victoria Crawford, otherwise known as Alicia Fox. Remember her? Former Divas champion. She thinks she still wants to be in the Hall of Fame. Not yet. Anyway, she's in the audience, as is teeny bopper Debbie Gibson. That's way old school, 80s old school. I mean, you talk about Debbie Gibson, you talk about Tiffany, you talk about New Kids on the Block, people like that. The teeny bopper sensation back in the 80s, the late 80s. But Debbie Gibson's not, a young anymore. She's old as fuck. Good looking too, but, it is anyway. And then we see some person from TLC from a TLC reality show. I'm like, who? Who the fuck is this guy? I mean, who the fuck are you? Wait, where are we at? I thought we were watching TNA. Where we got that TLC star? Where is this? This ain't Netflix. Who are you? What do you do here? Anyway. Alright, so we get that. So great to see Debbie Gibson and Alicia Fox. That's that. Alright, then we go to your main event of Unbreakable. Mixed tag team match. Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich taking on Frankie Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard. You know, Frankie Kazarian still has that call your shot trophy he can cash in anytime he wants. But we get that. The fans start chanting racist at Tessa Blanchard. What else is new? Blah, 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 blah. But we're getting to the end of the match. And we're going to Olympic Slam by Joe Hendry for a very near fall on Frankie Kazarian. Goes for the standing O, but Kaz kicks the bad shoulder. Locks in a crossface chicken wing in the middle of the ring. Joe Hendry has to flip into a cover for a near fall. To get back up, Kaz kicks Joe Hendry down again for a near fall. And then he takes Joe Hendry in the corner and hits him with a shot. Joe Hendry reverses an Irish whip. And then he hits a Gilmore Tessa! Bang! But Tessa comes in with a kick to Joe Hendry. And then Tessa and Masha start brawling. We have a cat fight! As do Joe Hendry and Kaz. We got a Donnybrook! We got a slobberknocker! By God almighty, Tony Schiavone! Alright. The heels take over. And Kaz goes to hit Masha. But Masha ducked. Oops. Kaz takes out Tessa Blanchard. And then we get a super kick to Kaz. And then Joe Hendry with the standing O. 1, 2, 3. Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich get the win in this mixed tag team match to end. Well, actually didn't end Unbreakable. I thought it was the main event, but no, I thought it was. Okay, we got a lot more. All right, so we get that. So good match there. All right, then we find out Mike Santana is pissed. Goes over to Santino Marletta, you son of a gun, and tells him that Mustafa Ali is playing mind games and he's sick and tired of that shit. And he says, when we get to Rebellion, I'm begging you, Santino, to give me a Falls Count Anywhere match. So Santino's like, oh, you son of a gun, I understand your predicament. And you got your match. Because I'm Santino Marletta. Alright. So Santino gives Mike Santana a Falls Count Anywhere match at Rebellion against Mustafa Ali. And Mike Santana says, we're going to end this in L.A. So we got that. So Rebellion is in L.A. next Sunday. That's that. Alright, we move on. Alright, then we see EY, Eric Young, getting ready for the main event, as does Steve Macklin and Flop Dollar AJ Francis. So we got that for the vacant Intercontinental title. Alright, then we get to the tearjerker part of the show. Ace Austin comes out with the mic, brings out Las Vegas' own Chris Bay. He slowly walks to the stage, hugs his good buddy Ace. Fans are chanting ABC, ABC. And he says, hello, world. Hello. And he said, I was? No, I am the ultimate finesser, your girl's favorite wrestler, Chris Bay. Oh, that's a tagline. I love it. He says, it feels good to be back. He says, 172 days ago, that's October 2024, he had a very scary accident in the ring that changed the course of his life forever. He broke his neck and was paralyzed. And truth be told, it was the scariest and most embarrassing moment of his life. And he was embarrassed because he wanted to finish the match, but he couldn't because he loves the business so much. But thanks to the staff, the medical staff, and TNA in Detroit, they saved him. But now his future is pretty much unknown because doctors said he had a low chance of walking again. But we see him been walking. He walked at the Chris Bay tribute show. And now he did a press conference with TNA, and then he's at Unbreakable, and he's walking, not great, but he's walking at least, which is a good sign. So he starts posing. Ace points at the legs, does the NWO pose, I like that. So Chris Bay says that I worked tirelessly in the REM No, not the band REM. Losing my religion. Okay. So he worked tirelessly in the REM medical facility doing PT and OT. That's physical therapy. And OT, I think, is outside therapy. He shouts out the staff. Okay, so they get a little plug. He says Ace never left his side, never stopped believing and supporting him. He's a real brother, and I love you, man! Come on, hook it in, man! Alright, that's what a real partner does, man. That's what I love. Alright, so Bay says day one, outside of saying it's day one. In his heart and mind, he thought he'd never walk again. And then he had to remind himself who the fuck he really is. He feels the love and the energy from the fans. And he beat the odds thanks to them, the TNA crew, the locker room, everyone watching at home. He's standing here, and look at me now! Loved it. And he's like, I did this because, and the fans chant, you're unbreakable! And then they did it because to steal a line from the world champ, Joe Hendry, we believe, or, you could have just stole it from Bo Dallas, we believe! So he says he owes Joe Hendry $20. Okay. Yeah, he stole his catchphrase, Give me $20 give me $20. You use my catchphrase. Give me $20. Hey, if anybody of you motherfuckers use my catchphrases, you're gonna have to pay me $100. No, don't do it, fuckers. That's that. Alright, then we get a We Believe chant from the crowd. So Chris Bay says it almost broke my spirit, definitely broke my neck. But I looked in the mirror and reminded myself that I am unbreakable. We are unbreakable, and that TNA is unbreakable, and all this is the greatest story that it was ever told. I loved it. I love Chris Bay. Followed his career in TNA, in New Japan. Amazing talent. Just his wrestling career, got cut off right when he was doing some good shit. I thought him and Ace were going to become tag team champions once again. Or maybe Chris Bay become the X Division champion once again. But his career got cut short over a freak accident. These things happen. That's the price you pay for becoming a wrestler. So, it is what it is. But great to see him alive and well. He's walking, which is a great sign. So it's going to take at least, I'd say, the rest of this year. Hopefully he can come back in a few years' time. I don't think he's gonna come back in like a year, but you never know. Eat that super senior spinach, maybe, but we got that. Alright, we move on with that. So great promo from Chris Bay and Ace Austin. And yeah, I'll admit I shed a tear. Because it's very, very, very sad. Okay, talk about yourselves. Alright, then it's time to get hardcore. Time to break out the barbed wire. And we got Barbed Wire Massacre, I believe number 5. I don't even know. I lost count. We got two men who wanted to kill each other. Sami Callihan and Mance Warner with his hot wife, Stephanie DeLander, at ringside. Blood. There's craziness in this match. Sami grabbed a barbed wire bat. There's a barbed wire boards. Barbed wire Nintendo 64 controller. Mance is already busted wide open. And then Sami wraps the barbed wire around Mance's mouth. Ah! Damn, he was beating the fuck out of Mance for a while. He tried to throw Mance into a barbed wire door, and then Sami charged right into the door, and he fell back. Mance steps on the door. Ow! And somehow got a near fall out of that. And then Stephanie grabbed a chair, brings that in the ring. Mance with a shot to the door. on top of Sammy and then wipes blood all over his face. And he grabs the door, sets it up barbed wire. Sets it barbed wire up. Sammy fights back before Mance pushes him into the barbed wire ropes. Ow. And he sets Sammy up for a cactus driver, but gets shoved into the barbed wire. And Mance is trapped in the rope. Sammy has a barbed wire, a ball that he grinds into the arms of Mance. Ugh. Then into the forehead to bust him up even more. Then he takes aim like it's a bowling ball and throws it right into Mance Warner's nutsack. No kids for you, Steph Delander. I mean, they started beating the fuck out of each other. Trying to shove each other's faces in the barbed wire. Sammy gets up. He has a lemon, mind you. Tears off the bandage and squeezes the lemon juice onto Mance's arm's wounds. Ah! Damn, and you thought Salt would have... I mean, we're going CCW way back in the day. With the lemon and the salt, and God knows what's next. So Sammy hits the door, the barbed wire door with a chair, knocking off Mance's tongue. Ugh. And we got Salt. And then staple gun time. He stapled Mance's tongue to the fucking door! Ah! Sammy hits the door with a chair, knocking it off Mance's tongue. Ah! And then now it's time for the Salt. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Mace with a low blow into Sammy's nuts. Bites Sammy's thumb, grabs the bag, dumps the Salt onto Sammy. Ugh. And then Stephanie hands Mance a screwdriver. Because obviously, Sammy has a spike. Spike versus a screwdriver. Who wins? They both get in and it's a standoff. But they hit each other's skulls and they drop and... Ugh. Like a heap to the floor. Still busted wide open. They get up slowly. Sammy grabs a trash can. Dumps barbed wire out of it. Then they trade blows. Mance rakes the eyes. Sammy grabs the... with a testicular claw. I think he's... Cactus. Cactus! Stop grabbing the balls, Cactus! Stop telling me what to do, Terry! Cactus, I told you, stop drinking those... Stop grabbing balls and eating Doritos, you fucking maniac! Well, Terry, they're very tasty. Shut up! You guys, stop it. Stop with the Doritos! Talk about hardcore wrestling and that's it, okay? No more Doritos, Mick. No more Doritos! I ban you from eating Doritos! Sorry. Alright, Sammy puts a sock on. We got Socko! Wraps it in barbed wire, goes to the mandible claw. He gets that, then hits Cactus Driver in 97. 1, 2, 3, mercifully, finally, this massacre ends with Sami Callihan beating his arch nemesis, Mance Warner. Bloody as fuck. And we get that. Alright, then we have Chris Angel in the crowd. What, he didn't disappear? The elephant disappeared. He just fucking disappeared. Okay, got that. Alright, then it's time to walk with Elijah, who does a little ditty with his guitar. He says next week he'll be doing the Who Wants to Walk with Elijah Open Challenge. And then we had his mic's having some issues. And says whoever wants to step up can walk out. Any company, any time. And to learn that in TNA we walk this way. He says he's going to put Vegas to the test. Goes back to strumming his guitar. There's a song about the monstrosity of a match that we just saw. And then it talks about Joe Hendry versus AJ. No, not Joe Hendry, sorry. Excuse me, Samoa Joe versus AJ versus Daniels at Unbreakable. And says Chris Bay is also Unbreakable. Then he talks about the main event, which is AJ versus Steve Maclin versus EY for the Intercontinental title. He says one more verse about himself, then he says, let's enjoy the main event. Okay, we get that. So we get to the main event for the vacant TNA Intercontinental title. Flop Dollar, AJ Francis, Steve Maclin, and EY. It's a pretty good match. We got a double Gorilla Press Slam by Flop Dollar, who used Steve Maclin to nail EY. Gets EY on top, hits that double Gorilla Press Slam, goes for a cover for a very near fall on both men. And then the crowd's chanting, AJ, go away! AJ, go away! AJ puts EY on Steve Maclin, walks over the both of them. Then he climbs up top, and hits a moonsault on both of them. Impressive. EY grabs Flop Dollar for a power driver, but he can't get the fat man up. So then Steve Maclin and EY beat up AJ Francis. They whip him into the ropes, but AJ clotheslines Steve Maclin, hits Eric Young with the TFL, whatever that is. He takes aim at Steve Maclin, goes to the big boot and missed. Steve Maclin then gets Flop Dollar in the trio. Woo! Hits the spear, goes for the KIA. AJ Francis counted out of it, goes for the down payment. That got counted into a DDT. Then another KIA, goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3, we have a new first ever TNA Intercontinental Champion, and that is the former World Champion Steve Maclin. So, congrats to Steve Maclin. Hey, I know Deanna Purrazzo is a very happy woman right now, because her man brought home some gold. That's that. Alright, great match. Congrats to Steve Maclin. And that's, pretty much all I gotta say about that. Alright, then we go backstage where Ryan Nemeth and Dolph Ziggler find an invitation, and they go into the Hardy Compound. We see some CGI effects shown on the screen. Broken Matt Hardy, yes! He appears and invites them to the Hardy Compound for a final deletion. So that's going to happen, I assume, this Thursday on the program or at Rebellion. And that's that. And that's how Unbreakable 2025 goes off the air. And it wasn't that bad. So I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 stars. And, that's that. Alright. We still got more to go, ladies and gentlemen. We got Ring of Honor. So we're going to get the Ring of Honor in just a second as I load up my notes. And then we're going to go right into Collision right after this video. So I'm going to put 2 videos up. I'm going to try to get as many videos as I can before SmackDown. About an hour and a half away, so we'll see what happens with that. Alright, Ring of Honor review. Another good show. And we are emanating once again from the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. Ian Boring and the Pasta, my good friend, the Pasta. Caprice Coleman at ringside. We're a couple weeks away from Supercard of Honor. So let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. Alright, so we start off with the opening sequence. And then we start with a tag team match. We have Top Flight, Darius and Dante Martin, with the lovely Layla Gray at ringside. They take on Tomohiro Ishii, not Ishii, it's Ishii, and Rocky Romero, let's say. Alright, pretty good match. Getting to the end, Rocky uses Ishii as a springboard to hit a standing sliced bread number 2 on Darius. But Ishii hits a big-time lariato on Rocky Romero. Oops, by accident. And we saw that last night on Collision. And then Rocky Romero pretty much turned on his good buddy Ishii with the help of the returning Trent Beretta. So a little Roppongi Vice reunion last night from Trent and Rocky Romero, as Rocky now turns heel again. So Darius then takes Ishii out. Dante hits a spinning half Nelson Slam on Rocky Romero to get the win. And that's pretty much it. So Top Flight gets the win. They will be facing the Crew, and that is the Omega Shenrons of Leo Rush and Action Andretti next week, next Saturday, on a taped edition of Collision called Playoff Palooza, and it'll be seen right after the NBA playoffs. So probably be around 10, maybe 11-ish. Who knows when the NBA playoffs will end next Saturday, because they begin tomorrow. And the NHL playoffs too, so. And what a moment last night at the Garden. Rangers won their final game of the season, 4-0 over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Sam Rosen's final game, in his long, illustrious broadcasting career. So congratulations to Sam Rosen, who's going off into retirement. And Joe Micheletti will be teaming up with Kenny Albert next season. So, and I think they're going to do something for, I think they did something for Sam Rosen. I think they put up a jersey in the rafters of Madison Square Garden. Or they did something in the booth, I think. I forget. But anyway, so we get that. So no more, it's a power play goal by Sam Rosen. So, unless when the Rangers score a power play goal, you'll hear Sam Rosen over the over the PA, well, not the PA, over the, the speakers go, it's a power play goal! So we'll see what happens with that, but sadly, the Rangers season comes to a horrible end. They went out with a win, and maybe they can build on that in the offseason. I hope they get rid of Peter Laviolette. I hope they get rid of Chris Drury, get some new management in, a new GM, maybe the Weasel will come back. That's, Mike Keenan will come back, or maybe they go with the Messiah. That's Mark Messier! We'll see what happens with that. But Rangers are looking for a new coach, possibly a new GM. Who knows what's going to happen with the Rangers next season. And the Bruins are gone too? Ha! So fuck them. And that's that. The Islanders I don't think are even in either. Not that I care. Alright, so we get that. Alright, after the match, Rocky Romero and Ishii get into a little bit of an argument, which leads into Collision, where they basically broke up, and Ishii gets taken out by the Don Callis family, who has new members. And that's Josh Alexander. So it's Josh Alexander, Fletcher, Takeshita, Rocky Romero, and now Trent. And really, Brian Cage as well, but he's injured. He just got knee surgery. Hopefully, he gets a speedy recovery. But he's going to be home with his 2 kids and his hot wife, Melissa Santos. Lucky you. And that's that. Alright, match number 2 for Ring of Honor. The Tony Khan specials begin. Shane Taylor takes on Kevin Matthews, otherwise known as Biff. Make like a tree and get out of here. It's leave, you idiot! Leave! Make like a tree and leave! When do I have to do everything myself? Let's just say we're related. Anyway. Alright, so Shane Taylor beats the crap out of Kevin Matthews and wins with a big right hand, knocking Kevin Matthews out. And that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. Alright, so Shane Taylor wins in a match I gave 2 out of 5 stars, and that's that. Alright, then we have, we finally see her, the Women of Honor, the Women's TV Champion, Red Velvet from your mama's kitchen. She's ready to fight either Taya Valkyrie or La Catalina, probably at Supercard. And, she says either one of them can come for her belt, but it would still be, and still, your Ring of Honor Women's TV Champion, Red Velvet. So we get that. So then we get to the match, Taya Valkyrie and La Catalina. Match. La Catalina catches Taya up top, goes for the electric chair drop, and sets up a top rope splash to finish Taya Valkyrie off, surprisingly. So La Catalina gets the win, and she will face off against Red Velvet for the Women's TV Championship. Okay, we'll go with that. Alright, after that we go to Nick fucking Wayne before he became the new Ring of Honor TV champion as he won the TV belt from Commander on last night's edition of Collision. But before we did that, he takes on Kenny Omega's favorite person in the whole wide world. That's not Kenny, sorry. Will Oceanspray's good friend, Michael Oku. Great match. And Nick Wayne's mom has got it going on. Yeah, at ringside. Great match. Kip Sabian sadly had to come out and ruin it. He shows Michael Oku off the top rope. And then Nick Wayne hits Wayne's World, party time, excellent. So he hits that. 1, 2, 3. So Nick Wayne's had a pretty good month so far. You know, doing everything himself these days. Getting some big wins in Ring of Honor. I think he had one on Collision last night, winning the Ring of Honor title. Christian comes back. You know, kind of gives him some tough love. Kind of then slaps him in the mush for standing up to him. But look at him now, Dad! I'm the Ring of Honor TV champion. Look at me! I did it all by myself! And we get that. Alright, so good match there with Nick fucking Wayne and Michael Oku, which was the main event of Ring of Honor. So, pretty short night for Ring of Honor. Which was, it was rebroadcast on YouTube today. So, if you wanted to watch it, go ahead. That's that. Alright, so not a bad, short Ring of Honor show. Only, 4 matches on the card. But pretty quick since it was, you know, WrestleMania weekend, you know. So, we got that. Alright, so, I gave Ring of Honor a solid 7 out of 10 stars. So, not a bad Thursday night of action with TNA, Impact Wrestling, then Unbreakable, a great event with a new champion, with Steve Maclin becoming the inaugural Intercontinental Champion, and that's that. So we got a lot of things to talk about this coming week on TNA Impact Wrestling. We got the Nemeth brothers going to the Hardy compound for the final deletion, and lots more to come before we hit Rebellion next Sunday. And yes, I will be doing a special predictions video for Rebellion, because that is next Sunday night, and I will be watching it live. So I might be doing a special not Unbreakable, sorry, a special Rebellion review on the Peter Joseph channel. So we get that. But like I said, TNA Unbreakable gets 7 out of 10 stars. Same thing with Ring of Honor TV this week, and TNA Impact Wrestling TV gets 6.5 out of 10 stars. So, leave me your thoughts and opinions about everything I talked about in this episode, right here on the Killer Demons channel. And that's all I gotta say about that. Alright, I'm gonna get to Collision pretty quickly, and then we'll try to get to NXT later tonight. After SmackDown, we'll see what happens with that. And then we'll do SmackDown. I'll try to do a really quick episode of SmackDown tomorrow. I'll give you my Mania Night 1 and 2 predictions as well. And we'll go from there. And that's that. And as far as the reviews will go, I'll try to get NXT Stand and Deliver up on Sunday before I go off for Easter. And then Night 1 and 2 of Mania will happen hopefully sometime on Monday. So I want to enjoy all the events tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. And then we're back at it on Monday Night Raw. The Raw after Mania, which is going to be epic. And that's pretty much all I got to say about that. Alright, so I'm out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll be back in a little bit with my AEW Collision review. Once again, right here on the channel. And then probably get you right up to SmackDown at 8 o'clock. So we'll go from there. Alright, guys, I am out of here. Thanks for watching. If you're not down with that, well, I got 3 words for you. Fuck you, man. And that's it. Until next time. Peace.